Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the analysis of YOLENO TV. I hope you're well from wherever you're watching this channel. Imagine a doctor who attended to you in a certain country, foreign country, comes all the way to just pay respect. That's a very big sign, ladies and gentlemen. But in this analysis, I'd like us to focus on Chief Justice Martha Koome.
Baba stood firmly for the rule of law.
1988 was about 6 years, 6.5 years after RAILA had been in detention and had been released, and then 6 months later he was put back in detention. So someone called me from England and told me, go to the office of Advocate Jeffers Shamala, and there we get lawyers who can now defend you. By that time I worked in the offices of all the lawyers, prominent lawyers, who is to SM Mutino, Kamau Korea, many of them.
There's a specific reason why I want us to look at this, because of all the people who went to mourn Raila Odinga there, pay their respects, there have been a lot of discussion on Martha Koome. But first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take you to a statement that Martha Koome shared. And this is what she said. Kenya has lost a statesman whose name will forever be inscribed in the annals of our democracy. He was a towering figure who, through sacrifice and courage, helped hold together the fragile threads of our national unity. His respect for the rule of law was evident in his consistent recourse to the courts to challenge abuse of power. While many remember him for the 3 presidential election petitions that defined Kenya's and Africa's electoral jurisprudence, it's often forgotten that long before then, in the 1980s and 1990s, Honorable Raila was one of the Kenya's foremost public interest justice champion. Through cases such as Raila Odinga Vice Attorney General and Detainees Review Tribunal 1986, Raila Odinga Vice Francis Ole Kaparo and Clerk of the National Assembly 1993, Raila Odinga and others Vice Nairobi City Council 1993, Raila Odinga and Professor George Saitoti, Raila Odinga Vice Justice Majid Koka 1997, he helped shape Kenya's early rights jurisprudence and broadened the scope of constitutional accountability. His persistence compelled our courts to grapple with the meaning of liberty, legality, and justice, even in the face of repression. For this, the Judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission celebrate the remarkable life of this constitutional pilgrim, a man whose faith in the rule of law strengthened our constitutional order and deepened Kenya's collective commitment to resolving conflict through the courts. His journey reminds us that the courtroom, not the battlefield, is the true arena of democratic contestation. May his legacy continue to inspire generations, uphold the Constitution, and defend liberty and pursue justice with courage and faith. So that's what Martha Koome shared. And then she shared photos of her, delivering wreath on the grave of Raila Odinga. Then there's a picture there of, again, I can see Mama Ida Odinga again there. There's several photos, and I can see behind there, Kamuka Jaramogi, that museum. Now, what is happening here is that Martha Koome decided to deliver her last respect to Raila Odinga. Another message here. Now, this time round, she was trying to acknowledge or remind people about when she first met Raila. Now, she says, I led a delegation for the judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission to condole with Mama Ida Odinga and the family of the late Raila Odinga. I first came to know Honorable Raila during one of the most difficult chapters of his life, his long detention without trial in 1980s and early 90s. Mama Ida instructed me as part of the legal team to represent him before the Detention Review Tribunal. I was only 26 old. That encounter gave me a first-hand apprehension of Honorable Raila's remarkable courage, his unbreakable spirit, and his unyielding faith in the ideals of freedom and justice, even under the most oppressive circumstances. Our paths crossed again after his release during his pro-democracy struggles in the 1990s. In those defining years, we worked together in the push for a new constitutional order and for the expansion of Kenya's democratic space. Honorable Raila stood out as a leader of conviction, deeply committed to constitutionalism, the rule of law, and democratic governance. His vision for a freer and more just Kenya inspired a generation to believe that change, though long deferred, could be achieved through courage and resilience and collective action. So from these two tweets, I've learned something, that Martha Koome is also part of the team that represented Raila Amolo Odinga during the 1980s of his detention during the Moi rule. So why is everybody talking about Martha Koome? There are groups who talk talk positively about Martha Koome's visit, but there's a separate group that reminds Martha Koome that if you knew all this, then why did you nullify the petition that was presented in 2022, knowing very well that the votes had some irregularities? Why?
This also turned out to be no more than hot air, and we were taken on a wild goose chase that yielded nothing of probative value.
So that's a very big question left to Martha Koome. Maybe that explains why it took her time to visit that place, because of course there were people who are going to react. Let me also remind you that if you go to that X platform, she has blocked everyone from commenting. It means you cannot comment. You can only, read, but you can't comment. That's why I'm seeing people talking in other platforms about this reaction from Martha Koome, but you cannot comment directly on the responses, or you can't respond on the comments from Martha Koome's Twitter handle, X handle. So what do you have to say about this visit of Koome?
The grief we underwent as a judiciary, because Baba stood firmly for the rule of law. Baba stood for fairness and justice. Baba fought for our constitution. That is our guiding right today. So when we heard about is being called home, because what has happened, Baba is resting with his maker. We were confused, but we thank God that the grace of God has been upon you, Mama Haida. You have stood firm and strong for this nation. Thank you for allowing us to come in our numbers with judges and magistrates to come and see, as a judiciary, we convey our condolences to you, to the people of BONDO, and to the nation of Kenya. We want to thank you for sacrificing and giving us wholeheartedly a leader who earned nothing but gave it all to this nation. He set very high standards in politics, in setting out our democracy, fighting for our democracy, fighting for human rights, until he breathed his last. What a gift from the family of ODINGA, Jaramogi, whom we celebrate. What a gift from the people of BONDO. What a gift to this nation. And this is why we are here today with a heavy heart to join with you and say, we in the judiciary stand with you, Mama Haida. We stand with the people of Bondo to mourn a great son of Kenya. You have received a lot of outpouring of condolences from all over the world, from the region, but today we are here as a judiciary to say we also looked out to Baba.
Of course, she had to honor Raila Odinga as someone highly respected, because like I told you, there are people who come from different nations. In fact, I have a cousin who lives in Bondo, and he told me that that place, people throng that place in thousands every day. It's as if funeral Bado is a day of funeral. You know, if people can come in their numbers more than 300, you see that's a very huge number. That shows you how this man was loved. And that is what has been expressed in Martha Koome's X handle. So, ladies and gentlemen, just go below in the comment section and tell us what you think about this statement from Martha Koome. Perhaps if you're watching this video and you've not subscribed, take 1 second and subscribe, like this video. Until you catch up again, stay safe and stay blessed.